Viewers and subscribers, welcome back to Beating the Press podcast. It was another exciting weekend of football action, and we're here to review these big matches which took place over the weekend. Liverpool running away big winners, maintaining their lead at the top of the table. Chelsea, big defeat to Brighton, and their top four hopes are looking in tatters. And of course, Man City. It seems as if that this team is back. But here to dissect and review these matches, we have returned into the podcast. Christoph.
Good to be back, viewers. Yeah.
Yes,
Interesting weekend in my opinion. Shocking results. Shocking in terms of, my prediction was completely wrong. Especially for that Manchester City
I mean,
game.
it went the complete opposite. I mean,
Right.
4-0 Man City, a hat-trick from Marrakesh, new signing. And I mean, it was a demolition job, in all honesty. That game was done and dusted from the first half. Has Man City now turned the corner, though, Christoph? That is the question. Are we
I don't,
looking at a galvanized Man City moving forward? I personally think so. I think the worst, we've seen the worst of Man City thus far. It can only get better from here.
Potentially we've seen the worst of Man City, but however, I'm not yet fully convinced at the moment, to be honest. I think
What more does it take to convince you though?
no, all right. So
I mean, Newcastle is a decent team that was in good form.
yeah, I agree. I agree. But sometimes it's football. Sometimes you just can't beat a team. It no matter if you're good on the day or whatever, sometimes you just can't beat a team, and that's what this felt like to me. Um, Newcastle just couldn't beat Man City for whatever reason. But I don't know yet. Right? I would like to see.
So
Um,
the Man City versus Liverpool should be a better measuring stick for you then.
I think so. I think if that game is close or Man City wins, then I would say they turn the corner. But if Liverpool absolutely demolishes them, then I would say they have not turned the corner. But if that game is close, like 1-0, 2-1, a very hot, tightly fought event, then I will say definitely they have turned the corner. But if they pick up like 3, 4, 5, then I don't think so. I think it's
Mm.
the same. I think they still need that defensive midfielder. Um,
Well, I mean, the new
they
signing
have
did get a start. I mean, a new defensive midfielder was brought in.
well,
And
what has taken them so long to play him?
well, I mean, sometimes you have to get used to the pace of the league, probably fitness, who to tell. But I mean, he did put up a decent showing in the midfield there. Marrakesh grabbed all the media attention, but the new defensive midfield did, look the part. To be honest, he did not look out of part. And I mean, the result is there to see. It was another clean sheet, or at least a clean sheet with the likes of Isaac firing on all cylinders. Gordon played as well, and they were unable to breach that Man City rear guard. So, credit has to be given Christoph where credit is due, in all honesty. Credit has to be given, you know. Gonzalez is a new defensive midfielder, and he definitely had an impact on this game. As you say, can the consistency remain going forward? That is definitely a question we can possibly answer when Man City plays Real Madrid in the Champions League return leg midweek. So that could possibly be the measuring stick, Christoph. I mean, was Man City to advance to the next round? Then who to tell that could galvanize their season and possibly boost them to put up a very formidable fight versus Liverpool as well.
I mean, yeah, if they win that game, and like I said, they really should have won the first leg at the Etihad. If not for some sloppy defending. Maybe they will do better at the Bernabeu. Arsenal. I think Arsenal and Liverpool are the only two teams to have ever beaten Real Madrid at the Bernabeu. So it's
Oh no, Arsenal and Liverpool, you say?
yeah, Arsenal and Liverpool I think are
Mm.
the only two teams to ever beat
Eng-
Madrid at the Bernabeu. English teams
English
to
team.
to ever beat Madrid at the
Mm.
Bernabeu. So that remains to be seen what happens or what becomes of that game. Marmoush was excellent on the day, but we don't know if it was excellence on the day. Will that carry over to the
No,
Real Madrid game?
I was seeing some signs, to be honest. I didn't really see a hat trick coming, but I thought he would have gotten on the score sheet. You know, he has been playing some good football since his introduction in the league, and he has hit the ground running, in all honesty. He has played in every game since he became eligible. Didn't get any goals in the first two, 3 games, but definitely the cream has risen to the top in this one and he can only push on. And he seemed to be playing in that Kevin De Bruyne role, Christoph. He seemed to be given that free rein to go forward and get involved in the attack. And that seemed to be working for Man City. They're playing quicker and breaking the lines faster. And they're also looking for that long ball over the top to run in behind, which is how one of the goals came.
Yeah, I think it's a case where teams realize that Haaland is very dangerous. So, like we said, teams trying to target him, man mark him, and so on. This in turn frees up Marmoush to get in behind, run at the defense, and so on. So I wouldn't say there was a lot of space because there were some, aside from probably the first goal, which was him 1v1 with the defender, ball over the top goal. All the other it wasn't like he had like a ton of space to operate in. He found the space, he scored the goals, he made the chances pay. Is what really happened in that game. Um Man City really had majority of the possession and so on, but his performance, he was playing out on that left wing. It might have been a performance that potentially put the nail in the coffin of a Jack Grealish.
Mm. Possibly. So you're saying you don't see Jack Grealish at City come next season?
Potentially not. Not it's too early to say with the player. He could just have had a good game, but we saw signs of a good player going forward. But we also saw that with Jack Grealish. But it could be a case where Pep is potentially fed up with Grealish, and regardless, it could be his final
Put him
season.
out to pasture. Yeah, I
Right.
mean,
Regardless
we
of
we've seen that happen on to a number of these City players. The likes of Sterling comes to mind, for example. The likes of that former player from Leicester. His name is eluding me now.
Riyad Mahrez.
Mahrez, that's right, that's right. I mean, and we've seen it with defenders like Cancelo as well. You're not performing or you're having disciplinary issues with Pep, then,
You
it's
know,
sayonara.
Right, Zinchenko, Cole Palmer, Gabriel Jesus,
Right,
regardless, players who have, performed
right.
adequately or, even well, very well. Sterling was excellent at City, but, it could be that, Pep no longer saw them in the
That's
future
first
plans.
choice.
Right, and that could be the case with Jack Grealish going forward, given that you now have Marmoush who can play on the left. He will play, I guess, deputized for Haaland on occasion. And then there's also, a Jeremy Doku. So, Grealish's time might be up. Kevin De Bruyne's time might be up at the end of the
Yeah, for
season.
sure. Yeah, it look as if Kevin De Bruyne time is winding down at City in all honesty. He's definitely past his prime. The legs have gone. I don't think he can give you a full 90 minutes these days. He's playing a bit part player, so to speak. So good squad player at this point in time, but definitely his better days are now behind him. So interesting times ahead. The squad at City is definitely changing, and each squad at some point, every successful squad has to go through a rebuild. It's just a matter of how big a dip you make or how fast that rebuild can be done. And City seem to have done that rebuild in that January window by bringing a number of strikers or attacking players. And possibly Pep will be dipping back into the transfer window from the summer as well. So
Um,
the EPL might have gotten a bit of reprieve from City this season, and hopefully Liverpool can take advantage, Christoph. But come next year, City will be coming all guns blazing.
well, that's if City is even in the Premier League next year.
Well, that's a different conversation. We will have to find time to do another podcast dedicated to those 113 charges. But we move to Arsenal, Christoph. Leicester versus Arsenal. A struggle for Arsenal in that first half. But you could say a master class or a master stroke of genius from Arteta pushing Mourinho up front as a nine, and he came up with the goods, Christoph. But can this sort of play continue with the lack of quality strikers among the Arsenal ranks? Talk to us about that game. How did you see that game, and what are the prospects for the future, in all
Uh,
honesty?
Aside from getting the win, I think it would be Arsenal should be quite disappointed In my opinion, from I mean, the quality of the play was there, but there was no finishing. Particularly one year it was excellent all game. You hear former players liking him to Messi, and
Oh,
so
that's come on now, Christoph.
big,
Come
yeah,
on.
big comparison.
This man
No,
has played a handful of game and he's the coming of the next Messiah. Come on. Too
uh,
early.
no, too early. But former players, not, and
I mean, if
these were
all
not
right,
former
question to you
Arsenal
though.
players.
Could 1 year get into that Arsenal squad, all players being healthy? I say no, because that was the case before these players went down injured.
Um, yes and no. I
How
think
yes and no.
I think Arteta seems to me is reluctant to play these young players for whatever reason. Now that he is forced to play them, we are seeing the quality of them shining through. Martin Skelly, Waneri. Um, so I think that's the case. I think Saka returns fit, comes back fit. 1 year he has performed so well, he should not be losing his place, to be honest.
How to Saka?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not saying he should not. Saka should not get back to his spot. I'm saying
Right.
1 year deserves a start in a
So
spot
you're
in the
gonna
starting
so
lineup.
where are you going to find him that place for him? Because currently now he plays on the right hand side of that Arsenal attack, which is Saka's position.
Well,
And then on the left you have the likes of possibly a Trossard or a Sterling, which who had an abysmal game, I would
I
say.
yeah,
This may
Sterling
be the
is
last we're seeing Sterling in an Arsenal shirt, Christoph.
Sterling is definitely. I would be shocked to see Sterling start any more games for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean he looks a shadow of his former self in all honesty.
Definitely shocking performance from Sterling. I think since he missed that penalty in the Champions League, the confidence has just completely evaded him. But 1 year, should definitely keep his spot. He's just been
So
excellent
will
since given
Moreno
opportunity.
keep his spot in that number 9 position?
Probably, to be honest, I think it looks
So
like
you're
a
saying
master stroke, but we don't
Arteta
know.
has unlocked a new number 9 then, so to
Uh,
speak.
I do not know that. I'm not sure he was excellent when he came on. I like the movement that I saw and the finishing. He did look like a center forward. Off the ball
Right?
movement was good, finishing was good, the heading was good. So he did look like a center forward, but it could just have been, like we said, a good game for him. That doesn't mean that carries over to
So do
another
you
game.
see him long term in that position,
No,
considering the injuries that Arsenal are dealing with currently?
uh,
Would you start him in the next game, for example? I mean, Sterling out, Mourinho in, and then you put Trossard on the left hand side.
I mean, I don't see why not. He would not. Sterling can't start, so it would probably be Trossard, Mourinho at 1 year is probably going to be the
Mm.
lineup for the next game. I can't see Sterling back in. There is no alternative for Mourinho unless they're going to take a player, a youth player, and put them. Which is what they did have
So
a
why
youth
not a
striker on the
formation
bench.
change though, Christoph? What about a formation shift? Maybe play like a 4-4-2 or a 4-5-1 or even a false nine.
No, I don't think the false nine is very effective. Mourinho is a relatively tall player, so playing him as a false nine, I think is a bit ridiculous. And a
But
false nine,
but midfield is his natural position, so
fa-
it would be
yeah,
second
but
nature to
a
break
fa
from the midfield and get forward.
a false nine needs to be a relatively skillful player. I
Mm.
haven't seen any skills or tricks from Mourinho that would tell
But
me that he's
Kai
excellent
Havertz
at
isn't that skillful player. He's
that.
technical but not skillful.
But Havertz does the job. He's not a false nine. He's a hybrid between a false nine and a nine. I
Oh,
don't know
didn't
what you call it.
what was the term you had? That German term?
Rhyme data is what he.
Reindita.
That is what it seems
Reindita.
like to me. A rhyme data, in my
Mm.
opinion. But
So you're saying
he's
Marina doesn't
probably
fit that
doing.
mold then?
No, 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 definitely not.
Oh, so it's either
Um,
false nine or
no, no,
Sterling gets the
only
nod.
nine. Sterling. I don't think Sterling is going to get another nod to start.
Mm.
Not after that performance. He hasn't had any great performances.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it now, he seemed to be one of the poorer signings of the window, in all honesty.
Well, he was just
Has
a
really
loan, so
not made a mark at all, and he looks a shadow of his former self. And what shocked me in that first half was the number of times these Arsenal forwards were caught offside. I mean, Sterling himself was guilty of being offside on a number of occasions, and it seemed as if that is characteristic of him losing a yard of pace or two, Christoph, where he's trying to get that advantage against the defenders versus holding his position and then using his pace. He seemed to have lost some pace.
Um, Potentially, time will tell. We're not sure as yet. It could have been that Leicester was just playing an excellent offside trap. It could have been that it was tactical to play your forwards offside to kind of move the defense out of position. I don't know,
Mm.
you know.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I think it was just lack of football IQ and trying to get
What?
a run on
I
the
mean,
defense
uh,
because of the perceived lack of pace, in all honesty.
Sterling, in all honesty, throughout Sterling's career, he hasn't had, that footballing IQ,
Well,
to be honest. So I feel like Sterling was at his best or is at his best when you tell him exactly where he needs to be every phase of the play. That is
mm.
what it looked like to me. But he was never some brilliant footballer or anything like that. He had the pace and he got into position. I think that was it. So maybe Arteta is not telling him the position, so he's a headless chicken, so to speak.
Indeed, indeed. Interesting times ahead for sure. But going back to Friday, Christoph, Brighton getting the better of Chelsea again. Has Chelsea now lost their way in terms of that top four? We're looking at the likes of a Bournemouth really pushing them to the brink at this point. And of course, City with their resurgence. It look as if Chelsea might finish outside of that top four, Christoph. I mean, if this sort of play and form continues, it seems locking down Cole Palmer is doing the trick for a number of teams.
But that's what I said before the game and what we've been saying for a number of weeks.
Well, that is true, but you would have think that the coach would have come up with some adjustment.
But the problem is nobody except Cole Palmer really carries any threat.
And Jackson, of course, is also out injured, so it probably made defending against the
Well,
Chelsea team a bit easier
well,
also.
while Jackson was having a very good early season, I had said that I thought he was playing beyond his level at the time. Um,
Okay, and you're saying that has come to pass.
that has come to pass. He won't be playing above his level probably anymore for the remainder of the season. Cole Palmer was excellent at the beginning of the season, was excellent last season. Teams have recognized the danger and decided to put a stop to him. And
Oh, so Cole
I,
Palmer is going through a little bad patch at this point in time then, Christoph.
um I don't know if it's
With
a
teams
bad.
making the adjustment to pretty much stifle his influence.
Right. So teams are stifling his influence, kind of like what we see with Erling Haaland, one Man City. If you keep Erling Haaland out of the game, before the signing of Mamouche, City would probably struggle to score goals. And we saw that. Same thing with Cole Palmer. You keep him out the game, and Chelsea have been unable to really win anything without him.
Definitely facts. Definitely facts. And again, going down to some sublime goals. I would say that goal from Mitoma, that first goal, Christoph, ball over the top, sublime first touch, cutting inside, and then curling it past the goalkeeper. That was possible contender for goal of the season, in my opinion, in terms of the technical skills that resulted in that strike.
I definitely. I think had the finishing been better from Brighton in that game, we could have been seeing 6 or 7 nil because Brighton did get a number of excellent chances that were missed or on the crossbar, on the upright. It could have easily been 6 or 7.
And that man again, Welbeck coming up with an assist. He seemed to be going through a renaissance, Christoph. I mean, he started off the season blistering, got injured, and now he's back and has picked up his performance similarly. I
Yeah,
mean, former
Welbeck.
Arsenal, former Man United player, his quality is really shining out, and that experience and leadership. He was wearing the armband for this Brighton team, and it told on the team, and Chelsea going away empty-handed, having lost to this same Brighton team in the FA Cup. That's now back-to-back defeats at the hands of the same team.
Definitely. Well, Welbeck, I guess, showed a lot of promise at Man United, which is, why he came up through the system. I guess injuries are kind of what forced him out of Man United. Arsenal picked him up, same injuries kind of kept him out of Arsenal. But when he was fit and in form, he did well. Um, I always thought he was a little overrated, but I guess we can see the quality shining through at the moment. And hopefully for him that continues and he can stay fit.
Well, I mean, it seems to me, Christoph, if you can find a player that can give you 10 to 15 goal contributions for the season, you've mined goal. That seems to be the standard where the Premier League is at right now. If you can find a player that is going to give you 10 to 15, whether it's a combination of assist and goal for the season, then you're well on your way. And that is probably the sort of player that Welbeck is. He will give you 10 to 15 goal contributions. We see it amongst a number of players. And when you really look at it in the bigger scope of things, that's possibly the difference between teams in relegation and staying in the Premier League. That's probably the difference between teams chasing a European spot or finishing in mid-table. If you can find a player or two that's gonna give you 10 to 15 goal contribution. So when you look at players like a Welbeck, for example, from Brighton, when you look at a player like Mbumo from Brentford, you look at a player like possibly
Only
a Madison,
Watkins.
a Watkins, exactly. It's like the second tier of quality players in the EPL, if you really look at it. So you have your upper echelon of the Salahs and the Haalands. That's going to give you your 20 plus goals. But then that second tier is between 10 to 15 goal contributions per season. So if you can find a player that's going to give you that in your team, you're well on your way. And I mean, you look at a team like Arsenal. If Arsenal had a few players like that, they'll probably be leading the Premier League at this point in time.
Potentially. Also, it's not just that. It's a matter of this season, Arsenal has suffered a lot of injuries, as well as players who would have been putting up those goal contribution numbers, like, and Odegaard has not really produced so far this season. He was doing well before the injury, but after the injury coming back, he perhaps has not settled as well or something. But um, maybe potentially one year or a Marino can be that player for the remainder of the season.
Ah, I don't really see it. They may get 5 or 6 goals, but I don't see 10 to 15 goal
Well,
contributions really
one
taking place.
one year is already on six goal contributions. That's was something like 6 goals, 6 assists. He already six goals, 6 assists for the season, not just in the league, but for the
No,
season.
we're talking about the
Um,
league, man. I mean, coming
well,
on in 1998 minute when players are tired. Come on. No,
oh no, there's a when one
or
year
playing
when what
against Plymouth Argyle in the FA Cup and scoring 2 goals. No, we're talking about quality play
Plymouth
in the EPL.
Plymouth Argyle, is that the team that beat Liverpool?
That's the team which took Liverpool out of the
Uh,
FA Cup indeed.
okay, okay, I was just wondering.
But speaking of Liverpool, I mean, Liverpool did get another victory under their belt versus Wolves, Christoph, and there were some controversial moments in that game. One would
Oh,
say Kanate was probably consider himself rather lucky not to have seen red, and Liverpool themselves could be considered themselves lucky not for Wolves to have equalized or even have taken the W in that game. But another 3 points, not the best performance, but the clock keeps turning, that mill keeps rolling over and it's another 3 points in the bag. But of course, not the best performance. And as I mentioned, it just leaves the door ajar for the likes of Arsenal to really step inside. What says you about that performance? And can Liverpool maintain their lead? I mean, looking ahead, they have Man City on the horizon,
Liverpool, can Liverpool maintain their lead? Yes, but when you look at the remaining fixtures that Liverpool had, there are some tough games ahead for them. They still have to play Man City. They have to play Arsenal, granted, at Anfield, but they still have to play Arsenal. They still have to play a number of tough games. I think Aston Villa is on there as well. So
right?
there's a number of tough games that
Well, they play Aston
Liverpool,
Villa midweek. They play Aston Villa Wednesday. So
right?
that
So a
could
number of
potentially
tough
stretch the league at the top of the table.
could stretch the
And that
lead,
should
could
put a
be
little
a
pressure on Arsenal, the
banana
chasing
peel,
pack.
could be a banana peel.
Based on how I see Aston Villa playing now, I
Uh,
would be shocked, to be
you know,
honest. But stranger
uh,
things have happened.
a
I
mark
mean,
Marcus Rashford might be fired up for that type of game.
Oh, yeah, that is
It
true. That
does
is true.
it
And he
does
did make
tend
a
to come to light.
contribution in that game versus Ipswich, a free kick coming off the upright leading to that Ollie Watkins goal. So the, the players are there. I'm not sure if the chemistry and that gel and the sort of fear that Aston Villa was playing with last season or even earlier this season is still there in the team currently. Defensively, I think that's where Aston Villa's problem is. Ipswich again breaching that back line and held that lead for a long spell. But Aston Villa managed to get a draw versus a relegation threatened Ipswich could not even get it over the line. Home. So if that is anything to go by, I mean, a rampant Liverpool team, if Liverpool plays anywhere near their potential, I think Liverpool should get the better of this Aston Villa team. But as I said, Aston Villa is a quality team. If they can get it right on the day, they could create some problems. And of course, this is a midweek fixture as well. No Champions League for Aston Villa or Liverpool. They've, finished in the top eight, so they have a bye in this round. So that gives the FA the perfect opportunity to put in place this midweek fixture. So this is an opportunity for Liverpool to stretch their lead, but at the same time,
It's
as you say, it could be a banana peel.
it's definitely an opportunity to stretch our lead. Unfortunately, it does, and it could just be a blip, but Liverpool, it does seem like there is potentially some cracks for them, and Liverpool have not looked to
Yeah,
their
definitely,
best.
especially
The
defensively. I must say, especially defensively. The Liverpool of all seem to be rearing its ugly head, so to speak, where they were conceding the first goal, if you recall last season, and then fighting their way back. Yeah, that steely defense seemed to be missing at this point in time. It could possibly be fatigue, Christoph. What says you?
could be
Are we seeing
fatigue.
Liverpool running out of steam?
Um, we don't know until the end of the season. But here is an outside factor. It could be that the rest of the teams in the league have to step up because the end of the season is coming. So they have to play better. Those who want to win European places, those who are fighting to avoid relegation, and so on. So the teams in the league could be stepping up now because they have to. Could
The
be
games are
fatigue,
getting
like you
tougher.
said. Right. And Liverpool, the top four teams have been playing a lot of games, and that could be catching up with them. Champions League is going to be coming back soon. We don't know what effect that will have.
Definitely, definitely interesting times ahead for sure. But I mean, still a slim lead. I mean, but even if Liverpool was to lose this game, they would still have a slight edge at the top of the table, nevertheless. And it would be down to the chasing pack to capitalize on this slip up. In all honesty, Liverpool has only lost one game all season, that game being against Nottingham Forest at Anfield. Liverpool is the best team on the road, Christoph, from a statistical point of view. They are the team which have taken the most points playing away from home. So again, these are statistics which is edging towards or edging us to say, yes, chances are Liverpool may very well win this game versus Aston Villa. So it should be an interesting watch. Uh which game will you be watching, Christoph? I mean, will it be the Man City game or will it be this game, Liverpool game versus Aston Villa? I mean, for me, I will probably be trying to switch between the two because that City game should be an interesting one. City has to win, and Real Madrid doesn't have the tightest of defense. They will give you chances, and this one, as we know, no longer does the away goal rule factor in. So really, all Man City need to do is to win 1-0 to send this game into extra time.
Um, Uh, Definitely that Madrid game will be very interesting to watch. Um, City have been down for majority of the season. Madrid, however, was playing quite well the beginning of the season, but there seems to be um an overconfidence and a petulance that has crept into that squad. Namely, Vinicius Junior and Billingham have looked very, very, very strange this season. I don't know if that FIFA World's Best has gone to Vinicius's head. And Billingham getting himself sent off. and facing a 12 game ban over the
12
weekend.
game ban. Wow.
Right,
I
for
didn't know the ban was so extensive.
facing, I mean, it is not confirmed as yet, but it's
Oh,
up
not
to a,
confirmed.
facing a 12 game ban for telling the referee to F off, so to speak.
Mm.
So there's definitely some either I don't know if it's overconfidence or petulance that has crept into the squad. Mbappe seems to be finding form at the right time for them, but
So what's your
Bellingham
call for
is
that
their
game though,
best player.
Christoph? What's
I
your
think
call for that Man City Real Madrid game?
honestly, I think Man City have more in them at the moment. It's just will they defend well? I think Man City has it in them to win that game, more in them to win that game than Madrid. But I don't. The
So do you
defending
think what
potentially
says
lets
you?
them
So
down.
you're saying Man City to advance or Madrid to advance?
I think Man City advance.
Man City
I
advance
think Man
in the
City advance
Bernabeu.
in the Bernabeu. Yeah.
Wow, that is indeed a bold call.
I
And
mean,
Real Madrid having a one goal advantage as well.
Madrid did beat City at the Etihad, but it was a lucky goal.
Mm.
They did not outplay Man City to win. They scored some very lucky goals from poor defending from City. So the question is, will City defend well on the day? If City defends well, Madrid will not beat them.
So you're calling Man City to advance in the Champions League.
I think Man City will advance from that game. Yes.
Definitely interesting call there from Christoph. I'll definitely be checking that one out come Wednesday. Switching between that Aston Villa Liverpool game and this Man City Real Madrid. In fact, depending on how the games are going, you may be unable to switch, Christoph. All depends on how this one boils down. But some other interesting results over the weekend. Brentford losing again away from home, Christoph. As I mentioned, this is like a team which blows night and day. Their home and away form are at complete opposite ends of the spectrum. Unbeaten, can hardly beat them when they play at home, but constantly losing once they are on their travels. And West Ham
Right.
under Potter getting another big win, winning that game 1-0. But yeah,
Who?
that's it. Potter, Graham, remember Potter took
Who?
over at
Who
West
did?
Ham.
West Ham lost 1-0
West Ham
to.
lost.
Yeah, last
Nah,
1-0 to
man,
Brentford.
it wasn't it. Oh yes, Brentford, right? Yeah, yeah. I thought West Ham won that one.
No, West Ham lost
Oh,
1-0.
West Ham lost, so Brentford broke their spell playing away then in that game.
Right.
Okay, okay. I had it in my head that it was West Ham who got the better of Brentford, but yeah. I mean, two teams battling it out in mid-table there for sure. But both of those teams, I believe, should be safe from the relegation scrap, though, Christoph.
Um, Brentford is certainly safe. West Ham has the potential to fall down there, but I mean, with 27 points, they're currently 10 points clear of relegation. There is always mathematically they could still be relegated, but you know, you
Well, they
could
always
say,
say that 30-point marker is really the standard bearer to save you from relegation. Once you hit 30, you should be safe. Only a
well,
few teams have really.
they need 3 more points for that because they're at
Yeah,
27.
which is pretty much one win. And what, how many games to go? We're at game week 25, so you're looking at what, 13 more games to go,
Right.
thereabouts.
Yeah, I mean, mathematically they could still be relegated, but we'll see.
But speaking of relegation, I mean, things are now boiling down. The table has taken shape, Christoph. You can make some reasonable prediction as to who will finish mid-table in those European spots. But question, who will be the three teams finishing in the relegation zone?
Well, it's certainly a battle between that bottom four at the minute. Um, Definitely Southampton. Definitely. We
Right.
don't Southampton will be bottom. Um, but Wolves is there. Uh, Ipswich and Leicester.
I,
I'm
I
expect.
personally feel it will be the three teams that got promoted that will be going back down. So my call would be Ipswich, Southampton, Leicester. I believe Wolves has enough to survive.
Okay. I don't know at the moment. I gave them credit earlier in the season, said that they were playing.
It seems as if the change in coach has, I wouldn't necessarily say galvanized, but has given them enough in terms of points to keep them above that relegation zone. So they may finish just above that relegation zone. So they may finish just above that relegation zone. So I think the change, I think if O'Neal was there, they would probably be in the zone. But since that change, it has given them a slight boost. Maybe hearing a different voice inside of that dressing room has enough. And of course, they have tied down some of their more key players like Cunha. Arsenal was circling him in the January window. They have tied him down to a long-term contract, and he was the man who got that goal versus Liverpool as well. So with him in the team and fit, he should be able to give you 5, 6 goals, which should probably be enough to keep you in the league. Because,
Perhaps.
when it comes to relegation, it's can you find those players that will give you those goals, that will give you that fighting chance? Earlier, Vardy was finding the back of the net, which is why Leicester was out of that relegation zone. Now his goals have dried up. Ipswich is now fighting. They have Liam Delap, who is finding a goal here or there in games, which he found one versus Aston Villa, which gave them a point. So goal scorers, especially in these teams battling for relegation, I think is of critical importance. And that's what we're seeing missing from this Southampton team, which pretty much has relegated them. But any quick final thoughts, Christoph? We're quickly running out of time. Any final thoughts?
Interesting weekend in the Premier League. Man City, completely blowing my prediction. Nottingham Forest, shock defeat in my opinion. And we continue with the poor level of officiating in the Premier League. Liverpool getting off again, and kind of getting away with the points there. But overall, good action for the neutral. Questionable for people who support some of these teams.
Well, there you have it, viewers and subscribers, the thoughts of Christoph. Thanks again for joining us here on Beating the Press podcast. Please continue to support us by subscribing and liking. But until next time, this is Rafa signing off.